Two cops stood at the side of a two-lane highway, which stretched between the Trans-Canada and the U.S. border. In other words, they were standing in the middle of nowhere. They were staring at two accident scenes. The first involved a transport truck. The grill of the red tractor had been pushed in, and the trailer knocked backwards and sideways and into the ditch. The second accident scene featured a police car, which was crushed like an aluminum can. Two ambulances were also on scene, but the bodies on the gurneys were covered by sheets. One truck driver, one police constable, DOS, dead on scene. One cop had removed his sunglasses, and as he rubbed his eyes said, "They must have collided." "But how? I don't see any skid marks. Nothing." "They didn't collide," the other cop said. "Well, then what happened?" said the first cop, with a degree of annoyance in his voice. The second constable shrugged, then said, "Tornado?" It was a question, not a statement. But the sky above them was clear blue, without a cloud and without a breath of wind. A tornado could have done that," the second cop persisted. Unless what? "Nothing. Come on, you were going to say something." "Well, unless it was that thing the kids all talk about, Bison-Head. The man with the head of a bison who can smash things with it." "Never heard of him." "Never heard of it." The second cop shut up. The first cop put his sunglasses back on. "What we need is a witness," he said. "Out here?" the second cop said. It was the first cop's turn to shrug. One of the EMTs walked over and said, "A witness, eh? What about him?" A man was walking towards them. He was thick and stocky and dressed like a cowboy. Boots, jeans, and a checked work shirt. He came striding down the middle of the highway with powerful, purposeful steps. But his most noticeable feature was his enormous head. He had a long, dark beard and a full head of unkempt, reddish-brown hair, piled high and overflowing, like the mane of a bison. He stalked past the wrecked vehicles without giving them a glance, and probably would have continued stumping towards the south, but the cop with the sunglasses accosted him. "You know anything about this?" Sunglasses asked. "Yeah." "You saw it?" "I did it." "You did what?" Sunglasses shouted. "They were in my way." The other cop was laughing uproariously, but when he was finally able to get his breath back, said, "How did you do all this?" The stranger stared at him, then said, in a quiet, conversational voice, "I was walking down the road." He indicated the highway, and the truck wouldn't get out of the way. That still doesn't explain how you did it," the other cop said, still laughing. The stocky man took a step backwards, then began to paw the asphalt with his scuffed cowboy boots before lowering his head and charging towards the nearest ambulance. He moved with superhuman warp speed, hitting the side of the emergency vehicle and crushing it in with the crown of his huge, shaggy head. The tires of the ambulance rose off the ground. It teetered for a moment at a 45-degree angle, and then it collapsed over onto its side, half on, half off the highway. Sunglasses had drawn his service revolver and was pointing it at the strange man. You're under arrest. Get down on the ground, now." For a moment, the stranger just stared at him, and then he began pawing the ground. "Now!" The man lowered his oversized head and charged. Sunglasses fired, but if he managed to hit the charging man, it didn't stop him. He struck the cop mid-chest with his ginormous, shaggy head, knocking Sunglasses high into the air, his body, his corpse, landing barefoot in the ditch, while his shoes, complete with his socks, were left standing on the road. The remaining ambulance burned rubber getting away, so fast it left the gurney with the truck driver's cadaver behind as a memento. The remaining police officer had his hand on the butt of his gun, but didn't dare draw. Instead he said, "You killed him." "He pissed me off." "What? Who are you?" "My name is Vacher, but they call me Bison-Head." Vacher was a buffalo hunter and fur trapper who murdered a number of First Nations men and women, and so was condemned to roam the benighted prairies for eternity, a humanoid figure with the body of a man and the enormous, shaggy head of a bison. Earlier in the year, he had been involved in an incident which resulted in the deaths of 2 young people, the disappearance of another, and which left the sole survivor hopelessly insane. Vacher sneered at the cop, then stalked on down the highway, passing the wrecked transport truck, the crushed police car, and the upturned ambulance. The cop didn't try to stop him. Instead, he just stood there, staring. He was still standing there, still staring, a few minutes later, when a long black party limousine cruised past the scene of carnage. The limo slowed down so the partiers could get a good look at the smashed vehicles, allowing a particularly crapulent passenger to moon the stunned cop. The limousine continued down the highway, traveling in the same direction as Vacher, and a few minutes later, the cop heard the sound of squealing tires, followed by a loud metallic crash. When other responders arrived on scene, the only living thing they found was a police officer babbling, "Bison-Head! Bison-Head! Bison-Head!" The cop is now in the psych ward, across from a kid named Willis, sole survivor of the earlier mass murder. And all day and all night they both chant, "Bison-Head! Bison-Head! Bison-Head!" over and over and over. Kind of a stereo effect, eh? As for the party limousine, it was found several miles down the road from the original accident scene, flattened like a crushed beer can. There were no survivors. My guess is that some a-hole decided to moon Vacher the Bison-Head. But whoever did that was a real ass, and will soon be an a-hole in the ground. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring cryptids such as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. And now, Bison-Head. Please help me to get to 2,021 subs by 2021. Till midnight. Cheers.